Hello, Internet. I'm Angela. I'm a director and creator. We here at Nerdsmith would like to wish you a very happy Nerdsgiving. The time has come for our second annual Nerdsgiving charity event. 2 weeks of playing silly games with our friends while putting a little bit of good back into the world. This year, we are supporting Heifer International and their fight to end hunger while caring for the earth. They gift families and communities income-producing animals and provide the training to turn those animals into sustainable businesses. For the next 2 weeks, that's November 1st through the 15th, we here at Nerdsmith will be running animal-themed RPG one-shots and giving away delightful prizes during the streams. Stay tuned on Twitter for the latest show schedule, or donate today at fundraise.heifer.org/nerdsgiving. It's bound to be amusing. No, don't cluck up this opportunity. No, just play the outro.
We are Nerdsmith. Bum ba-dum.
No. We're gonna try that again. One more time. From the top. We are Nerdsmith. Improving rhymes.
I mean,
there you go. You can hear my song now. My song that I've been singing for the last minute or so. Hello, everybody. Hi, Internet. Welcome to what is normally Final Rites. I am Angela, and this is our wonderful DM, Jason. And today is, let's see, the 5th day of Nerdsgiving. On the 5th day of Nerdsgiving, your true love gave to me a couple cute goats. I don't know. Anyway, so
now you have to figure out the other four
I
things.
do have to figure it out.
You've buried yourself in this bit, unfortunately.
No, I know. So anyway, we are in the midst of Nerdsgiving right now. We are supporting Heifer International. If you caught the video that we played just now, we are trying to support their fight against hunger and improving and caring for the earth. We will be collecting donations up until the 15th for putting money towards gifting income-producing animals and the training required to turn those animals into sustainable businesses. So if, during the stream today, if you join us and you donate to Heifer International via our link, which I just put in chat again, if you use that and donate, I'll keep an eye on it, and if I see that somebody donated, we'll use your name or something in something we make for Final Rites. We'll put you in the show. We can't guarantee your character or the object you're named after, or that will be named after you, will survive, but it will be there.
Yes, absolutely. I would be more than happy to, for such a good cause, insert you into this marvelous world that we've been crafting for the past couple of months now. It's been through schedule change, through absence, through all sorts of trial and tribulation. We have assembled quite a motley crew here that I'm so happy to be a part of. Yeah. But as Angela said, donate to Heifer International. We'll keep an eye on it. And if we see your name, you will be going in to Final Rites in some capacity.
Heck yeah. So, As I said, we are normally Final Rites, a Southern Gothic D&D stream, which has mostly tieflings. It's usually all tiefling, but we're diversifying a little bit. And right now we are working in World Anvil. World Anvil is one of our kick-ass sponsors, and we have an account that you can find at World Anvil to look at our world building. Some of the stuff that we have there has the crew of our ship, have character information, see different locations that we've visited or been involved in. You can see a weird tweet that I made. Our characters, you can find them and their heroes profiles. Heroes is the social media feature that World Anvil has, and you can look at the basically how our characters would use Twitter if we had a Twitter, and that's what Heroes is all about. So you should definitely go check that out. But we're going to be working a little bit on Final Rites today. But it has been a spell or two, no pun intended, since we've been in this crazy world. So let's do a really quick recap of what is currently happening. The last time Final Rites was on the air, Jason, if you would not mind.
Oh, I would be more than delighted to provide a little bit of a recap. For those of you who have been joining us, you have been witness to a few interesting events as during a traipse through the elemental plane of fire along the river Styx, which itself presents itself as magma-esque and very terrifying upon this plane in particular, there were a few new arrivals of interesting consequence, particularly of Keda and Kai, two Genasi, fire and water, respectively? No, switch that around. Water and fire,
Keda is fire.
Keda is fire. And a former associate of Mercy, one of the fantastic crew members of the Final Rites, played in the campaign by Rachel Denton, who's also the artist of the group.
Yep.
Thank her for everything. She's a bit under the weather, so we send her our love and whatnot. But with the arrival of Keda came a few complications and concerns, chief among which involved Shez, a cleric of the Raven Queen, a Shadar Kai, as it were, and representative of her will aboard the Rites, given that status only by virtue of being a high roller, which we'll get to later on in the show. Shez had approached an associate of Kai with an offer of power, which was accepted and a contract drafted, before crashing into Mercy and Keda on their own, revealing a few erroneous circumstances that led Keda there. Mainly, he was concerned that Mercy was somehow involved with one of the sponsors of the Rites in some capacity, that they were consolidating power, etc., what have you. Many of these were found to be false, or at least gross overestimations on Keda's part. He's kind of impulsive. Outside of that, however, with Nowhere and Jovi diverging off of different paths around the ship itself, all of them sort of congregate eventually to figure out a few odd quirks or disturbances that have been trickling throughout the Final Rites. In particular, there seemed to have been a crew member who was somehow cloned, and there were a few other high rollers who impersonated, cloned or impersonated, who knows, but there were a few other high rollers who had taken offense, shall we say, to the drafting of oh gosh, I lost the name. Shez's contract with their newest patron. As such, it seems that a nefarious plan has been put in motion, spearheaded by adherents to the demon lord known as Malar, the beast lord, lesser deity of lycanthropy, the hunt, and a few other sort of wonderful things that I'm sure the crew will no doubt handle deftly and with much tact. The latest that occurred was a well, not the latest, but the latest in the main story saw Jovi and Mercy sort of trapped within a ritualistic flashback, which was modified to cause psychic damage and really indispose portions of the crew. Pardon. At which point they had to fight their way out of that situation with the help of Bahazet, who is a very big keeper of the final rites, where they awoke to basically a hellscape that had broken out, with similar ritual circles ensnaring other people and wanton destruction and mayhem reigning supreme. It seems, at least based off of apparent presumption, that the rites is under assault by the servants of the demon lord known as Malar. For what purpose?
Is a fair assumption.
Yep. For what purpose? How many there are? How well this assault will go? That'll be subject to a little bit of investigation. However, before the ultimate breaking out of chaos, or maybe even during, there was a supplemental session that was run last week by our very own Angela McCain that I would love for you to summarize, because
I will tell you.
I don't know how.
happened.
I don't know how to summarize it. It's just.
Oh, I got it handled. All right, so during the interstitial, I put together a one-shot called the VIP section, and my intent was to create a few high rollers, or not high, what do you call them, high rollers? To hang out in the VIP section.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, so I made a
superior clientele.
I made a trio of very important passengers on board the final rites just before this, what I would call a coup, broke out. Is it really a coup if it's a bunch of people who intended to do it? Anyway,
it's definitely not something that you anticipate. I'll say that it is an extremely well planned, or at least well executed, coordinated assault. If you want to say that's a coup, then sure, I guess.
It came from inside the house. So I ran a one-shot called the VIP section, in which we had a trio of high rollers hanging out in the gambling hall of Final Rites as these servants of Malar were being activated, I guess, being told that shit was going down, and it's going down now. We had Effervescence, who was a Tabaxi tiefling hybrid. He had a lion face and antler horns. It was very cute. We had Kiriel, who was an Asamar with very gleaming armor, and Rinmei, who I believe was an Asamar tiefling mix, who was there looking for some answers about her lineage. So they're on board the rites, going to wherever their destination might be, hanging out in the gambling hall, making nice and not so nice with some of the other demonic or devilish clientele on board, when this assault broke out. They were able to subdue a werewolf that had started attacking some of the clients in the gambling hall, then also latching on to two denizens of concierge, a pair of twins, an incubus and a succubus. I have their names here because I liked them so much. Too bad they were definitely fodder for me to murder during the game. Spoilers. Kernil and Kesrian were the incubus and succubus, and they basically tagged along with the party, trying to get away from this coup that was happening, this assault that was happening. And the twins ended up saying, fuck it, we're going to the panic room, we're going to the pantry. And so they ran off to the kitchens to go to Succulent's pantry to go hide. the trio of VIPs ended up trying to make their way through the hallway where chaos was ensuing. Lots of murder and blood and bad things happening in corners you couldn't see around. And they end up in the kitchen just because there was the sound of someone screaming and banging on the door. Oh my God, please let me into the pantry. Oh my God, please just let me in the larder. And they go into the kitchen and discover a air ganassi who is pounding on the door. And in an attempt to subdue this person who seems very panicked, the person turns around and has a knife through their throat already, and there's just blood going down. They do not seem to be, let's say, alive, but moving.
Charitably.
And with a ghastly opening of this person's mouth, it just dangles open. There's no talking, but out of it spews the sound, oh my God, please let me into the pantry. Oh my God, please just let me in. Oh my God. And scaring the shit. I was so proud I scared them. It was a thimble hag, which I got from the Book of Hags, which is available online if you go look up Crook Bessem's Book of Hags, I think is the name. But it was one of the hags in there, and they fought this air ganassi who enlarged itself in the kitchen and took a bunch of swipes at them, and then after they were able to trap the thimble hag in a jar because it jumped ship, as it were, as they were about to destroy its form, they found the pantry door opening and the twins also dead, also stabbed or otherwise mortally wounded, but possessed by these thimble hags. There were 3 in a coven. And they do mention Malar, so I did imply that they were part of the assault team, trying to take over things via subterfuge, which seemed to be the MO of this group. The final encounter that they had, there are 2 encounters that they had, then they decided they needed to go make a break for it down into the engines. Because we had okay, so this is where the twist, you can choose whether this is canon or not, but because we had a wizard in our group, I went, okay, so you hear this whirring, this normal hum of the ship, very Star Trek. You suddenly hear it go, and you can use magic all of a sudden. Certain magics that you wouldn't have been allowed to use on board. And that's why the hags could wield the magics that they were wielding. So I implied that some protections had been disrupted via perhaps a sabotage of the engine room, or where the motivating crystals are. So I gave sort of I was very vague with the engineering of it. It was just something had happened.
Yeah.
And then they decided they were going to make their way down to the engineering room because they're going to do something. They're not just going to hang out here and wait to be murdered by werepeople. And on their way down into the engine room, they made eye contact with a being down the hallway, a being in a hood with a very nasty looking bow and arrow, with glowing red eyes, and it sort of like, I see you. And they ran. Eventually, though, from a distance down a stairwell, they hear this like whirring, and one of them gets hit in the shoulder with an arrow, and then feels a whoop, like a subwoofer inside his body reverberate out, indicating that perhaps he had been tagged by this archer, and the archer now knew where he was.
Yeah, might have been marked by some sort of hunter or something.
Yeah, almost like or like some sort of arcane archery. It was very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I've been wanting to use a seeking arrow as Adelaide in Shenanigans for a really long time, so I was very excited to get to narrate what that was like. Because he had seen them in the last minute, so he could shoot an arrow and it ignored 3/4 cover and it would go around corners, so it was capable of just finding them.
Yeah.
And so they realized they were not safe. They continued going down into the engine room. They encountered my best approximation of Mr. Gallo Dodger, our keeper of the engines, and he was just trying to fix things, and there were dead engineers all over the place because there had been a direct assault on the engine room, and they locked themselves into the engine room where the motivating crystals were with Eamon Gallo Dodger, and heard the pounding on the door where they had like locked it, where this archer and his posse were probably coming from. So I left it open to interpretation. I did say eventually the door opened, but that story is for Jason to tell, or to infer what happened to those 3 VIPs that were trying valiantly to help protect Eamon while he tried to fix something. And that's where I left it off. It was just a moment of panic and danger for people who were not our main characters, that they were also put into tremendous peril because of this assault.
Well,
I tried to keep it as away from your canon as possible so it didn't fuck anything up, but the crystal thing might have been a specific thing.
No, that actually was going to become a portion of the sort of considerations, because as before you before your character sought out to actually kind of hunt down the servants of Malar, I remember there was a disguised self, like some subterfuge that was going off, an attempt to see if these engines were still working. They were at the time, but as you are now sort of awakening from this massive ritual, you didn't see anybody getting hurt, and even if they were getting hurt, it wasn't that much. So it could have been like the last sputtering bits of those magics, or they could still be in effect. And a note about specifically Gallo Dodger. Pardon. When it comes to the crew of the Final Rites, they are disallowed from explicitly offensive magics like, fire and ice or magic missile or the like. But if there is a portion where it's like there's all defenses are down, then it's kind of this cruel thing that I imagine the sponsors have put in place. It's like, okay, yeah, you've gotten the defenses down, but you've also taken the cap off for all of our best and brightest. Good luck. So that fits in
moved
perfectly.
the goalposts on what the power level was on the ship.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
might not lean in your favor.
Yeah, it's Rock Lee training with the weights and then takes them off, and it's like, oh no, I've made a terrible mistake.
So what we discussed doing a little bit today was building some NPCs, building some high rollers. I would say I'd have no problem building a little bit based on the characters that we got, but I did have one in particular that I made that I only I described it because I was obsessed, but I had no other information about him. So I would love to play with this person that I made.
I mean, sure, you would be more than worthy of it, because your name is right there. It's created by Nerdsmith itself, our organization, and us too. So, who did you have in mind?
So when we were in the gambling hall, there was a particular character that I described. They were a devil, that were sitting on this sort of really ornate wooden chair as if it were a throne. They kind of carry themselves as if they sit on a throne. And they had sort of little underlings running around getting him stuff. And he was very orb shaped. It's the best way I can describe him. Very large, very bulbous person. And he had this very ornate robe on, and the biggest beer gut you could imagine. But in that gut, it was glowing, and every so often you'd see this smoky, screaming face go by. He's consumed souls, or he's holding them in like a camel.
Just saving some for later, obviously.
Yeah, so I came up with the name Salix. Sallylx. And
of course, with a Y, just to throw things off.
Of course. So Salix or Salix, I don't know which. And this guy was just, I just said he was a high roller. He was hanging out in the place. He was hanging out in the gambling hall.
Sure, sure. I'm trying to think what when it comes to devils, or when it comes to pardon, um, anything like that. There are some fine distinctions that are made in D&D between devils and demons, but with Salix, it sounds like this is somebody who has sort of blurred that line, who deals with both.
Yeah, I will
with
say
no issue.
I originally took the idea from a demon. I found a demon picture and I was like, this is awesome. But then I said devil during the game, so I just decided to stick with it. But we could just say fiend of indeterminate
A fiendish,
definition.
a very fiendish big boy.
Yes. I based it off a couple of different things. I'll show you. One of them was a, what do we call these guys? These are Omnizu.
Omnizu.
Let me see. I'll check D&D Beyond. They have the name for them.
Sure, sure.
Amnitsu. Amnitsu is what it's
Amnitsu.
called. I will put it in chat if you want to take a look at this picture. I got this from D&D Beyond.
He's so cute.
Yeah,
He's so
right?
cute. They're so cute.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what their pronouns are going to be. They're just monstrous, and I don't know. But then there was also a demon that I'll keep looking to see if I can find him. But it was exactly that. It was bulbous, and it had screaming faces in its stomach. It was quite
Bulbous,
unpleasant.
horrifying, terrible, no good,
which
bad.
which could I suppose be defined as a demon, but
Sure.
I don't know if there's necessarily a physicality difference, is there, or is it like devils are devils and demons are the weird ones? Like I don't know if that's
they're
100%.
Good news. They're all very weird. So demons, demons specifically reside on a plane known as the Abyss, which has different sort of levels. Whereas you have the 9 hells of Batur, which are sort of the archetypical residents of devils, which that's a whole different thing. Devils basically represent lawful evil, whereas the Abyss and demons represent chaotic evil. So the bigger the number is, because okay, let me backtrack. The Abyss has a lot of levels, way more than 9. The lower the level that you are on, the worse of a demon you are. Meaning, if you're at like level 1000, that's pretty respectable. If you're at level 1100, even more respectable. If you're at level 11,000, you bad. And it's bad. Like, there are a seemingly infinite number of levels to descend into the Abyss. Whereas with devils, there's a structure, there is bureaucracy. Especially with the Amnizu, they are listed as bureaucrats for these sort of devilish entities. So it could be that this particular one, Salix, is enjoying a little bit of a vacation. I mean, the Final Rites is a bit of a pleasure cruise to many people. It's a neutral ground without the sort of heady and stringent neutrality that's enforced on places like, I believe it's called Sigil or something along that line. Yeah, Sigil, with the Lady of Pain and that entity being absolute neutrality, or you blink out of existence. No. We want people to be happy with this sort of neutral ground that we've established. So Salix could just have been somebody who was at that position where it's like, I have served you well, I have served you with distinction. Give me a few days off and give me this status. Pardon, but I do like the idea that there are distinctions between high rollers, where some are just sort of there to be for themselves, and others are specifically representatives of particular celestial or infernal or basically multiplanar entities. Did Salix I can't remember. I don't think Salix was shown on screen to have died, right?
No, he did not. He was not mentioned when the thing. Well, because I had some time pass.
Sure.
So he was originally mentioned as being there, but he might not have been in that room at the time of the outbreak.
Right. Could have been completely different room. Something could have been happening. Which,
So I don't know. I mean, I'm not that hung up on ascribing to tradition if it has to be like devils do this, but I kind of like the idea of the souls in his gross stomach thing being maybe souls he's bartered or souls he's made a deal with, like, and it just that is what becomes of you.
sure.
He consumes them, but it is like a slow sarlacc like consumption.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They are definitely, excuse me, the Amnitsu seem to be, even though they are kind of portrayed as aloof or otherwise, given their noble status, they can certainly have these patrons or these souls that they have just sort of gotten a hold of and latched onto. Because, I mean, whenever it comes to the operation of such a nefarious machine as the Nine Hells, there are going to be some people who skim off the top and who consume for their own gain rather than any sort of higher sense of purveying power. Pardon.
So I'm just
Filled-
writing out
filled with
basic concepts
souls.
about him.
Mortals they have made deals with, yeah. Or bartered for on behalf of other devils, I would say. Eggs engorged with mucus green skin and wings. Just sounds like somebody
Oh yeah,
that gets a second date.
Oh, he's yeah.
Is just a lovely, lovely, lovely. Just can't. If anybody wants a good laugh, I would say search up the first or second edition art of the Amnitsu, because it's much less nefarious than the one. It just looks like a guy that needs a real big hug sometimes, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, look at that.
Yeah. No, I'm really liking this like Star Wars hut with wings
Yeah,
kind of thing.
and not like wings that make sense, like given the aesthetic, like literal, just like bird wings.
Yeah.
D&D has gone some weird places
Oh,
nowadays.
look at the tabaxi.
Oh,
They've been weird.
it's been so strange. Twists and turns everywhere.
I love the original tabaxi picture. It's so dumb. It's so dumb and so good.
Yeah.
I'll share it in chat if anybody wants to see it.
Oh, I want to see it. Even if
There you go.
chat,
It's pretty great.
This
I'm
one's for
pretty sure
me.
this is the first appearance
Instance
of
of
a
a
tabaxi.
Oh no!
It's like something out of an Andrew Lloyd Webber play, or a movie based on an Andrew Lloyd Webber play.
Is that Taylor Swift?
Yeah, it's Taylor Swift, you guys.
Oh,
I found a secret concept art of the new movie.
Oh no! I'm even more worried now, and I had no hope to begin with. Sorry.
All right, so let's talk. Let's get back on topic.
Let's search back. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Salix. So I have like a basic description,
Sure.
but let's talk motivation or why they're there. You mentioned maybe wanting to go on a bit of a pleasure cruise.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Blood War, as has been described kind of in canon and also within the context of the campaign, still wages across the multiverse, across the River Styx, the realm of the Amnitsu, apparently. They are sort of charged as guardians or overseers, as it were. So you've kind of hit the nail on the head with somebody who would probably be on the final rites just as a guest. Like, there are just some points where a devil or a demon or some other person involved in the conflict would say, hey, I'm just going to go to this neutral ground, with the service that I have done and enjoy myself, which in the context of demons and devils usually translates to I am going to overindulge and probably be a terrible, terrible being for like a solid few weeks.
Yeah.
But in comparison to the eternity, which is the blood war, it's like you'll have a few moments of respite in a long, long timeline of pain. That's the ideal situation.
Yeah, he strikes me as the kind of guest that, for example, Jovi would need to entertain but really not enjoy it.
Yeah, it really is one of those things like where there are the people that go to like tourist destinations solely to take pictures, like not even engage with local businesses or anything like that, like just real bad tourists. Like that's a common occurrence, a bit aboard the final rites. So
yeah,
what I'm saying is you've made a very terrible person that I'm glad we're going to be giving.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited by this.
Yes. I'll be giving him a very short and painful time.
Hooray.
Giving them.
But not before being super gross on camera.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Their stomach will burst open and this is be like souls of the undead getting everywhere. Like, yeah.
You got soul on me.
You
Someone get the soul mop, please.
Just show up with like a little like mop-mouthed demon that just slams its head against the souls.
His name is Hoover.
No.
Did I ever tell you that's a command my parents taught taught their dog? They drop food and they want him to pick something up. They shout Hoover and he comes over. Hoover is not his name. It's just the thing they tell him to do. He knows there's food.
Hey, that works. That works. As long as they don't do it with grapes, chocolate, or you know.
No. It's usually just like I'm making vegetable stew. Here, have some celery.
Yes, some celery. The favorite food and the favorite vegetable amongst all the dog kinds.
Vegetables. Yes. My dog doesn't, but
that's true. That's true.
All right, so
back on topic.
Yeah.
High roller on board the rites. As you ask, let me try that again. Slothful creature with an engorged gut, winged demon with mucus green skin and wings. Gut is glowing, filled with the writhing, screaming souls of the mortals they have made deals with or bartered for in dealings with other devils. Yep, that sounds sufficiently horrifying. Good thing that this premiered just a few days after Halloween. Or actually, no. The session that you ran was before Halloween, if I remember correctly. If time is still
it was before Halloween. It was prepping.
It was intentional, yes.
Well, yeah, it was entire. Well, I did. I mean, you set the groundwork for doing something scary, so I just followed your lead. Okay. But I did really dig the thimble hags. They were so cool. It's such a gross, interesting thing. Very rarely do you see D&D deal with size in the diminutive. Usually it's just large, huge, gargantuan. Usually it just gets bigger, and rarely do you actually see the creatures, like, you rarely see tiny creatures that are actually scary or intense in terms of opponents.
Right. Or if you do, there's usually an element of comedy, like the red caps or the fae.
I forgot about the 2 red caps. Yeah, there were 2 red caps that went to battle with the 3 thimble hags. And in case you want to make something interesting happen, I rolled 2d20 just to see what what would happen. And I rolled a 1 and a 20. So if you want to describe what you think might have happened, please feel free.
Probably nothing good.
Something crazy happened.
Something bad. Something very, very bad.
The entire kitchen just coated.
Yeah.
In something.
Yeah.
Who knows what it is? It's something.
We don't need the soul Hoover for this one. We need something else.
We need a new kitchen. Can we just dismantle and build a new one? Just raise it to the ground. We're on a boat. I don't care.
In the distance, you hear
Burn it.
Succulent just softly weeping.
It's okay. The door might have gotten closed in time. I don't know.
Might. But yeah, as you said, in terms of size, they rarely deal with these frightening sort of images in the small context. And I think that's maybe because whenever we think of something that is fantastical, when something is, when something is sort of injected within a fantasy world, we want to have the opportunity to see and engage with it on some substantive level. And especially with D&D, you want your characters to be sort of drawn to interacting with it. Like, if you give them, let's say, a hill giant versus a Tarrasque and say, go kill what you think is going to be fun to kill, what do you think they're going to do? Murder the hill giant first and then go for the Tarrasque. But yeah, there's this sense of kind of a whole world that is not left unexplored, but definitely left to sort of play around in. Which I think the Thimble Hags and Red Caps and other things, when they're moved from that slightly comedic element to just this straight horrifying stuff, it can be really engaging. And you did a marvelous job with the Thimble Hags, especially.
Yeah, I was really proud of that. When my player, I've never scared players before.
Well,
and I'm like, oh, this sounds horrifying. Let's do that.
It's fun. Like, it really is like.
Well, the last 2 one-shots I've done are like, we're all family, we all love each other, it's gonna be nice and gentle and sweet. And then I was just like, no, I'm gonna murder things.
DMs, remember to scare your players every now and then. Either through small statements or entire one-shots dedicated to the cause. Because either or can be just as terrifying.
Well, then let's play around a little bit in the RPG, the NPCs feature. Because we haven't really done that much. Let's do that here. There's some cool stuff in here. So, we have like what kind of NPC they are. We don't have to necessarily do this.
Sure. But I would definitely say with an Omnitsu, this would be either fodder or like a plotter, like somebody.
So fodder is like how they describe it: a random maiden, barman, or farmer in a field, or a background NPC. A plotter is a recurring NPC who will stand with or against the PCs over an extended period of time.
Sure.
Or the villain and his henchmen, the monsters at heart challenging your players. I feel like plotter, he's kind of like he might cause some problems, but he's not going to be the big bad, presumably.
Yeah. Oh, not unless a lot of dominoes start tumbling down.
Sure. So here's some things that I liked in here. So you can set your goal, so this is like their immediate goal. Is there additional goals? How are you going to use them in the scene? Are you meant to are they going to deliver information? Are they going to hide a secret? That sort of thing.
Right.
Let's see. Quirk, we've already described. The belly of souls.
Yes, absolutely. Apologies to move away. That was embarrassing. But yeah, no. I definitely think that there's going to be a little bit of opportunity to play around with this character, hopefully, before too long. Because, again, with the disabling of the crystalline engines, which, oh boy, Eamon's going to catch hell for that, even though it's not his fault. Technically.
Might not be destroyed, maybe just disabled.
Yeah, because for those of you who have stuck around since the beginning, the first mission that this group undertook was to replace a crystalline element of the motivating engines of the defense systems of the final rites, which basically disabled certain users from casting spells and made allowances for the crew, but never without consequence, in order to make sure there was no excessive force, etc., etc. So yeah, there's going to be a reckoning pretty soon, and I don't think Eamon's going to be long for this world, maybe, but who knows?
No. So here's a couple that I thought were really good. Competence level. How competent are they at the job they have?
Hmm.
Or are they incredibly competent, or do they bungle everything? So here's the rating from 1, which is untrained and stupid, to 5, a highly trained genius. I think this rating system is a fun way of setting the tone of how actually dangerous this person is,
Yeah,
or
because
how intentionally dangerous this person is, maybe.
yeah, because there is sort of that ineffable quality of like, oh, wait a minute, it's not that you're intentionally doing this, it's that you screw things up so consistently and so thoroughly we can't recover. Like,
So yeah, do you see this guy being good at his job, or do you see him like he's on vacation because he's always on vacation? Like he doesn't actually,
I mean,
when he has to be there, he's just like, oh, fine.
when it comes to devils specifically, and if we're going with Amnitsu as sort of the base here, devils don't get anywhere without being at least somewhat well versed in the operations of contracts and et cetera, et cetera. It could be that he's a little bit untrained, but that there's an aspect of him, like likability, like proactiveness, that makes up for his shortcomings. Like
Yeah.
like even though he doesn't necessarily do the best job or doesn't necessarily do the most work, the people that he works with, he has had such a good established relationship with that it's sort of a good old boy system. Like, oh, I scratched your back, just make sure that I don't, that I don't get, too far off the path. So probably either untrained or trained, like wavering between the two.
I think there's 2 ways that I would perceive a interesting character based on these 3 categories. Give them 2 high scores and 1 deficiency, or give them 2 deficiencies and 1 very high score.
Yeah, that's about it.
Either there's a reason you're keeping him around. Either he's incredibly charming and people enjoy him despite the fact that he's just an idiot and he doesn't do anything, or he's incredibly good at what he does. He's just incredibly unlikable.
Which fair,
Which
yeah.
kind of fits with this dude.
Yeah.
Or they how much of a go-getter they are. Are they doing things behind the scenes even when the party's not dealing with them? Or are they more reactive and they're just waiting in the wings for the party to want to do something involving them?
Exactly. So,
I just imagine this guy's just incredible. I'm just imagining very much a Jabba the Hutt kind of person.
No hesitation in that. Like no even
I
like
built
hey,
him to
maybe
be
he's
gross. Yeah.
very true. So completely unlikable, like can't stand this person, like you have to deal with them only because it's your final recourse. So I would say then that would probably make him a little bit more proactive. Like if he's only good or decent at his job, then maybe
he just has. Well, I had this idea of him having this coterie of imps and minions and stuff doing stuff for him. So maybe he just is kind of like a Jabba the Hutt, but also like a Littlefinger sort of person, where he's got ears everywhere.
You got this,
and you have when I was reading through, and I didn't really ascribe to this much during my 9 Hells one shot that I ran, but the imps being described as the ones that go to the mortal world with the effort of tempting mortals, like they like doing that. So if he surrounded himself with lesser devils that want to get up in ranks, and it's like, well, if you want to make good, you gotta do stuff for me. So having a little sort of mini army, and it plays in that overseer vibe where it's like, no, I send my employees out to the mortal realms and they bring souls back for me. That is what we do.
My people will talk to your people, who will talk to your people, and we'll
he doesn't necessarily directly deal with people all the time, but he's always looking for that next deal. It's a
All
little
right.
slimy, little makes sense why he'd be hanging out in the gambling hall. Like he's a bit of a gambler, a bit of a he just likes, I mean, he's a devil, he likes making deals, but he's sort of always on the hunt for that deal.
Yeah, somebody who is definitely. I imagine. I I don't imagine the imps is Dickensian, and yet Fagin was kind of like the first, the first touchstone
Sure.
that,
You,
that
I
pops
mean,
up.
you get your best if you aim low. You cast a
Right.
wide net. You don't aim for the quality humans. You aim for the ones you can actually take. I mean, that plays very well into this idea of a gluttonous kind of creature, where it's like, I don't
Right.
really I mean, everyone's always seeking to corrupt that pure soul because apparently that's going to be the most valuable. But have you ever thought about just casting a wide net and bringing in I mean, they might be less quality on an individual level, but it's quantity, not quality he's worried about. That is what his definition of success is.
Gotcha.
Well, because then you can skim off the top if you're to further obfuscate our analogy here. If
Sure.
you're a salesman and you're bringing in lots of sales, they might not necessarily be high quality sales, but you're bringing in the numbers, and it's harder to notice if you're skimming.
So we've just made a pyramid scheme.
Oh yeah, he is
Basically.
the pyramid.
Like his is the pyramid.
He's one of those pyramids that didn't get made out of sandstone, so it's like
Oh, yeah.
bulging.
Yeah. So
It's not quite angular.
it's not though, and it's filled, as all pyramids are, with dead souls.
This is working out. This is working out great, to be honest. I think this metaphor is working wonderfully.
Yeah, I can't see anything going wrong. I was just about to ask if he had like a cousin named Marike or something like that. Ooh. Quantity, not necessarily quality. Yeah, that's about right. Gluttonous and ravenous. Ooh. Not enough people use the word ravenous to describe things. It's a good descriptor.
I'm with you, emoji. I'm also sad.
Gluttonous and ravenous in every awful sense of those words, maybe?
Sure thing. Okay.
Don't be sad. Stop being sad.
These are more your references, but if you want to concoct them now, we can talk about it.
Sure.
So, let's see.
Well, how did you pay much attention to the facial features, or was it?
The gut took over most of my description. Let me take a look. Oh, like, okay, so let me just go off of the Amaterasu.
The base, kind of.
Oh, it's okay, so it's this like ghastly, ghoulish, overly wide smile.
Yeah. I imagine actually there might be some kind of obfuscation that he just naturally has, that by virtue of something, be it his age, be it his nature as an Amatsu, that there's an obfuscation. Like, even though his skin is oily, his features are not defined, or they're very smooth and kind of like almost egg-like. Like,
I'm hearing. Oh, you know what you're describing right now?
Oh,
you're
no.
describing the villain from Legion, the FX show, the guy, like the sort of, I don't remember his name, the Shadow Man or whatever.
Yeah,
like his actual form with the yellow eyes, but it's like very just like stretched and smooth and amorphous and gross
and not good. Like, really not good at all.
Really not good. It's kind of what this guy looks like already.
Which, that's always fun.
Beady little eyes that glow amber.
Oh yeah, amber. Amber is a good choice.
A ghoulish pig-like nose. Like it looks
Ghoulish.
almost skeletal, but pig-like.
Ooh, yeah. Like, like when you've got Halloween decorators who don't understand how animals' skulls work. Have
You
you
mean
seen
like
these?
at Michael's or at Joanne Fabrics? I love those
Yes.
shot. I love those places.
I
Why
just
does the bunny have ears?
why on its skull?
The
On
ears are
its
made of cartilage.
That's not how an animal's skull works. I mean, I lived in the country for only like a little bit, like a portion of my life, but I know that them's not bones. Them's not bones. This isn't bones. It would be really bad if they were bones. Like, come on, man. Sorry. This is quick side tangent as we determine the look of this absolutely deplorable
Really gross.
devil.
Oh
Yeah.
god. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. All right, so we got he's bald, I assume. He looks
I
pretty
would
bald.
assume, probably.
Yeah. Bald and wrinkly
Alden.
head.
Oh, and wrinkly. Yes.
Just
They're
his
green
head, though. Just his head.
Just his head, smooth all over, smooth as a baby's bottom. Otherwise.
Oh god.
It's about to say, I think I have a cousin like this, but all my cousins are like really wonderful people, or really decent folk. That's so mean. Full of sharp teeth, yes. Skin around his mouth pulled taut. Oh, it's that dichotomy.
Like
Ugh.
that creepy sort of ghoulish Joker smile.
If you're just joining us, hi. We're creating
we're
terror.
being gross. We're making a demon. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
That's enough for now. Let's do other things. Let's make him gross in other ways.
Yeah.
Speech pattern.
Do they slur, mumble, all that good stuff? Was there? Did you actually have the opportunity?
They did not interact with him, so it is a
Oh.
pretty blank slate right now. You're welcome. Yep, this is me making you improv on screen.
I'm trying to think because you got the tight lip corners that kind of, I would assume, go out into a wide smile. There is, on one of the other games that I run, there's a particular NPC, like an evil man, who's like the manager of a mine in town, but he's like, he's got that sort of Bezos thing where he buys the cheap stuff and then sells it for an upmark price. Anyway, swollen, a swollen body type. I hope I never get to that. That sort of that sort of description. If my body type can be described as swollen, just put me down. Just don't.
Anyway,
in terms of speech patterns, the NPC that I was previously describing has this very sort of faux genteel kind of manner by which he speaks. So he has a lot of propriety, but he's also got these very thick lips and this. It's sort of droopy in a sense, but I think for this one there will be a more guttural kind of guttural affectation, because this is somebody who's very like reassured of their work, and somebody who's lived for ages.
You know who I'm hearing?
Sure.
Fancy, droopy, and guttural makes me think of Uncle Vernon from Harry Potter.
I mean,
you're sort of just doing mush mouth, like, oh, kind of thing.
Yeah, but
I don't know what that was.
That it was something. It was a choice. I'm so glad that this is not being broadcast.
No post on Sundays.
Nope.
Just have to imagine him saying no post on Sunday.
Yes. Very sinister as well. Like,
oh yeah,
there is no devil that is not sort of like who could not break into that sort of Joker laugh.
Sure.
At any one point in time. I also wonder if there's sort of a monotonous element to where his pitch and variation and speed is very much calculated. It is something that he's practiced for so long, etc., etc. As a quick note to any DMs who might be watching, if you want to do voices, just feel it out for the first few sentences, and then once you feel like your throat or your mouth or like everything between your nose and your chest sort of working in conjunction the way you want it to, stick with that as best you can for as long as you can. That's the best way to practice whenever.
Maybe record yourself getting into the voice and describe what you're doing when you get into it.
Yeah.
And then you have a reference and you can follow along to try to get back into that voice.
Yeah.
Because I've discovered that I hit the same voice occasionally. Like the other night, I tried to do Australian, totally failed. Ended up with Cockney British, and it ended up just sounding like how I make every goblin sound. It just kind of turned up in here. It's just in this kind of register. It's just there. It's
Wait.
fine.
So
Alright, it's okay.
I don't. How did you hop from Australian to Cockney?
It was fine. It was like this, and I'm just not good at Australian. It's fine. It's all right. And those are my words to get into Cockney. I say fine. No, it's fine.
Fine. It's fine.
It's all right.
It's great.
Yeah, that's how I usually get into it. Those are the words that I usually use. Anyway, this has been voice lessons with two DMs, one of which with way less experience than you.
Oh, it's not experience. It's not experience. It's just
you are so fucking impressive when it comes to accents. Can I just say that? Like, the fact that you can just at the drop of a hat pull a Scottish accent out of your ass, I'm like, wow, I am not worthy.
Well, it comes
very impressed by that.
Yeah, it comes with a lot of watching BBC when you're younger, and also just sort of inundating yourself with that kind of sound, and also finding words that really do fit whatever you're trying to.
What's a good Scottish core word?
I'm trying to think of one. There's one particular character that's sort of infamous, especially within, I think, the Call of Cthulhu community, known as Old Man Henderson, who was apparently born of a fever dream of a character or of a player who had to come up with like this backup character, and he apparently just wrote feverishly the sort of musings of Old Man Henderson, who is described as like this mohawked old Scottish dude. And so
okay,
and so one of the first sentences that he ever speaks is apparently "Merkel darn cultist Erin Nambley's keeping my wee men." So because short aside, I apologize, I did not mention at the top, he collects garden gnomes.
Okay, that sentence makes way more sense now.
Yeah, exactly. So
my wee men, what the?
My wee men. But we or Bern, which you had mentioned, Bern and Merkel, or those other sort of words that to I don't want to say to English speakers because that sounds real bad, but
to American
audiences, shall we say, it's hard to kind of distinguish. And but yeah, looking up slang words or looking up just sort of common things that are said around an area or a region. Like for the South, I would assume with Jovi, one of the most common phrases, or one common phrase of many, is "bless your heart." And whenever it comes to
how do I get into Jovi? I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Jovi. I think she says "dear heart" a lot, or like "sweetheart," and that word just lends itself to kind of that sort of sweet droning quality of like, oh, sweetheart, yes,
yeah,
that kind of thing. That's usually how I do it. So I think that just everybody has different accents that they have in their head a little bit. Like I'm way more comfortable busting out a Russian accent than a lot of other things.
Yeah,
Um,
and
yeah.
yeah, well, and because there are certain steps that you as a speaker can take because it sort of varies by region. One of the common theories that I've sort of been exposed to is that because Texas accents typically mirror a lot of English affectations. That's why I'm able to sort of mill about the English Isles and sort of like be
Mm.
okay with
They
uh,
blend too much for me. Like,
mm,
I've only got a couple in my head that are quote unquote British. I don't have an Irish. I don't have a Scottish accent. I can only do like posh and Cockney, and that's about all I can do.
and
Not
yeah,
even posh. It's just like general like G. It's just like RP maybe
yeah, yeah. That's
maybe.
well,
Um,
yeah. It's that sense of like, oh, this is.
if any of you
It
are interested
sounds
in
yeah.
account or in accent accounts in accents, go look on Google. There's a lot of really cool, or Google, YouTube. There's a lot of really cool people that do accent videos that teach you how to do stuff. One video really made me relax when it came to British accents. It was a person doing like Queen's English. It was three people sitting at sitting next to each other, and they each read something, the
Mhm.
same thing, doing like Queen's English, doing received pronunciation, like what you would hear on BBC, and then what they considered London English.
Which is
Or no, you know what it was? It was received pronunciation, which is what you hear on BBC. It's
Mhm.
standard like London, and then there was like hardcore Cockney. And what was really neat was that like Londoner is how inconsistent
Oh
it
yeah,
switches with different sounds. It's not actually consistent, and sometimes they just change it. So I was like, "Oh man, that's such a relief to know that it is okay if I suddenly swap a little too Cockney from sounding a little more RP because
yeah,
it is an interesting colloquial change up, and it's sometimes the same word will be different where
yeah,
it's just like whatever they feel like doing. So I feel way less pressure
yeah.
now that I saw that video because they're like, yeah, London, that mix of RP and Cockney that happens very fluidly and not always consistently. So
Exactly.
I feel like I'm way more accurate than I thought I was.
Yeah, exactly. And to sort of not put not dwell on the subject for too long, but it's
Yeah, go ahead. We'll put a
very
pin in
interesting.
it.
But whenever it comes to accent work or anything like that, you know, the the basic concern I think that is born whenever it comes to describing how a character talks or describing how a character sort of presents themselves, it's communicating certain things about that character through the voice or through the speech pattern. So if you're even if you can't do an accent to save your life, that's fine so long as you define the character in other respects
Yes,
and sort of
absolutely.
yeah. So
That is the biggest takeaway is that accents are not required.
but they're fun. They are very fun. So, even bad accents can be even better because don't ask me to do a New Zealander accent because I will murder it and I will do shame upon the Nerdsmith Network to the great nation of New
I
Zealand.
I'm only good at saying Brit and Jermaine, because I like Flight of the Conchords, and that's the only names I can do.
Taika Waititi.
Um,
Nah, that's
I
that's
can't
the
do that
only
one in a Kiwi accent. Um,
that's again the only reason is because you just watch and watch and watch and just sort of absorb
yeah.
through there. But yeah, uh, uh,
So, speech pattern.
speech
Uh,
pattern for Salix.
you're thinking like British, kind of posh
Uh,
British in an
I
accent,
don't.
or
I see. The thing is,
doesn't have to be. You don't have
yeah.
to go British equals bad guy.
Well, and not only that, but with the final rites specifically, we've had this thing where we have described it as sort of a Southern Gothic
That yes.
aesthetic, and with that, I think could come a bit of variation when it comes to Southern accents, because
Sure, sure, sure.
my most comfortable is with East Texas accent, like solidly East Texas. Like I'm living in Dallas. I'm a stone's throw away from where I was born, which or where I was raised, which was Marshall, and that sort of uh, dynamic, that sort of accent, is very much different than you have with Louisiana or Alabama or Georgia or anything like that. So I think if we wanted to make this person somewhat refined, it would have to be
It's like a Carolinian.
a heinous
A little
mix
bit.
of like a Carolina accent where you draw out the words and
Well,
sort of.
now Your Honor, I'm just a poor country lawyer.
Yeah, something like that. But definitely adding that sinister tone, which basically comes from like making sure that your throat is a little bit you're speaking from the back of your throat. You're excuse me, letting your chest do a little bit more of the rattling and whatnot, because I don't know if you can tell with my voice, which if you can, I'm so sorry. I kind of keep it either in the middle or in like somewhat nasally, or at least by my standards, it seems a little nasally. But with this one, it could definitely slip into those sort of lower tones.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of chest room to be able to make that that
Yeah,
voice. So
yeah. Not
yeah,
only
I
that,
like that.
but there's also a gruff quality that you could introduce
Yeah, he almost
if you
sounds like
so
he's gonna
desire.
cough every so often.
Yeah,
Like that sound like he might not, but it sounds like he could.
yeah. A good sort of touchstone for that would have been, I believe, Tom Kench or one of the other champions within League of Legends has that sort of similar aesthetic, but with Salix in particular, I think you could take it that route and then have him be a little bit more of a excuse me a character that understands their place and conveys that through the voice. Like they're comfortable where they're at. They're definitely not at the highest point that they could be if they applied themselves, but they're at the point where they're most comfortable. It's sort of like when you
Yeah.
stumble upon a middle manager who's so good of a middle manager, you know they would do great, but
But
they are
they
just.
don't have any impulse to do the better because they're like, I'm comfortable here.
Yeah, or not that they don't have any impulse to do better, but they don't have an impulse to like search higher. Like their ambitions are just as are as satisfied as they could ever be at the level they're at than they could ever be if they were at the top. Swollen beer gut legs seem bigger and more intimidating because of his massive robes. Now the
It
robes are
covers him but
yeah,
it makes him look more regal and intimidating. But like, if you ever saw him at the pool, he'd be an egg with sticks. I mean,
which is why he doesn't go to the pool.
but he does show off his belly. I think it's a status thing.
Wait, are we saying that the robes
It's
cut off
open.
like
He doesn't have a cutoff. His robe is just open.
okay, got I was like, wait a minute. This would I'm not mm, mm, to be clear, I'm not bashing the sort of kinky design that I was coming up with where there was a crop top robe that like flowed down behind him, but I just I'm just kind of yeah. Now I've got that in my head. I'm sorry, audience, for planting that in yours. Uh, did you have for Salix any particular sort of symbol or association that you would have made for him? Being a high roller, he doesn't necessarily have to have it, but I mean, it would be
Like a
interesting.
symbol? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
Well, no. I guess if we're definitely having this person or this particular devil be sort of on the rights, using it as a cruise or what have you,
Mhm.
I don't think he would have work associations. Like he would just want to be like, nope, this is my time. This is me time. I get to stay here and I get to have some fun. Excuse me. Whereas there are some like Shez, some like I'm assuming the other high rollers, who will sort of act as a Representative is one word, but almost like a salesperson for whatever they're pitching, be it the path of light, be it any sort of philosophy or concept that they are sort of interested in. In recruiting souls for, as it were.
He's interested in easy wins.
Easy,
I would say.
yeah.
Like I said, when he's obsessed with the quantity and not the quality, he just wants more. So if something's an easy grab, he'll be like, "Go imps, go
Mm-hmm.
get that for me."
Sure. Go forth, imps.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about his emotional state.
Probably panicked. No. He's definitely somebody I see as very laissez-faire or laissez-faire. How do you pronounce that? Laissez-faire. Dang it, French. Surprise, surprise, the Texan cannot speak French. But
very nonchalant about things normally, like his base demeanor.
His base demeanor is very much like, okay, this is now happening. Adaptive could be a charitable way to describe it, but I picture Salix as somebody who's like, no, if we help one side, they'll definitely win, but I really want them to want it, so I'll just stay back for now. Offer my help when it's most convenient for me.
Okay.
Because if we're looking to sort of the higher definitions of being gluttonous and ravenous, you're looking at somebody who is obsessed with their own comfort and their own sort of their own sort of satisfaction. So whenever it comes to any situation, it's like, well, okay, I want to make sure that whatever outcome this has, I end up with more than I need, because screw the other guys. This is mine.
Mm-hmm.
There's an element of greed to it, but I think greed is the accumulation for some sort of accumulation for accumulation's sake. Gluttony is accumulation for the sake of pleasure, for like one's own needs being fulfilled and over-fulfilled, and specifically that nobody else can fulfill them. Yeah, lethargic. That's another brilliant descriptor of his emotional state.
What do you say his energy level is?
To take him away from the sort of I would say that there's kind of a ravenous state to him. So even though his
constantly
body, even though his body
and seeking satisfaction,
even though his body might be betray this kind of or portray this kind of very laissez-faire or otherwise just sort of aloof characteristic, his mind can present itself in sort of a manic state where it's like, no, I need this, I have to have this immediately or else something's going to go wrong. Basically meaning, if I don't eat somebody's soul, I'm eating yours.
We will get to a section here. Let's do that now then. Let's do his emotional things. How do they behave when they are happy, sad, or angry?
Happy, sad, or angry.
So happy, I think, plays into that lethargic, like just self-satisfied and like laying back in a chair and just being really just like
very contented.
For lack of a verbal descriptor, sure.
Yeah, contented. Like somebody who's whenever you're in a happy state, like it's not that happiness keeps you lazy. It's that happiness puts you in a state where you're like, okay, I can just chill for a minute. It's basically what this guy, this person basically stole everybody's sort of usual feelings and replaced them with anxiety. Just terrible, terrible, horrible anxiety. Kept all the comfort, all the contentment to himself, or to themselves. Because I think
I'm looking.
I think Salix would probably be agender or at least non-binary. I just feel that for whatever reason, because I like this idea that there are kind of beings that, that extend their influence beyond simple classification. So even though he might be, they might be descendant from Amnitsu or of that sort of caste, their influence could have extended far beyond. So, yeah. And plus,
Okay.
it's just a sort of point that I like to keep whenever it comes to these sort of things, that there are so many things to consider when it comes to real life. You know, there are characters that will have to be in fiction and fantasy that mirror those realities, and you know, NB people exist. All that good stuff.
NB people can be jerks too.
Can be gluttonous masses of soul stealing.
As long as you make sure there are examples that are counter to that, you are fine.
Yes,
You
exactly.
can't have the only non-binary person in your world be a gross gluttonous thing.
Yeah, no. Yes, that's very true. But that's
You know, the definition of representation. Have lots of opportunities.
Yeah, and when it comes to Final Rites, I've been very happy to include characters of all shades, colors, creeds, identities, and whatnot. So, I mean, that was one of the first things in consideration when it came to the rights. When I first approached Nerdsmith, I was like, I want to make it as not as buck wild as possible, but as representative as possible, and to have these characters who, for instance, Mustang's character, Shez, who we've mentioned a couple of times, being explicitly disabled, using a cane, and very actively sort of being seen. That was very important to them, and something that I was more than happy to incorporate in the game. Same with the identity of Salix, same with the usual kind of lack of specifics that I usually leave, or I'm going to be hopefully leaving for a lot of upcoming NPCs, where it's like, okay, let's have the characters have some input on how they see the character and how I want to present them and whatnot. So yeah, it's just one of those things that I've been very much happy to kind of have baked into the world, as it were.
All right, so when he's happy, or so when they're happy, I said they're sedate, self-satisfied, and lecherous. They're just gross and lazy. But I made it sound more SAT word.
SAT. That's you're definitely going to get a point for that.
I get grammar points. All right, so how does Salix react when they're sad?
When they're sad, I view them as somebody who would be, or an entity that would be kind of facing it directly. Like, they will investigate the reasons as to why they're sad. Like, they will do that self-work, but they won't do much to sort of change their own behaviors or whatnot. If it's something like some inner wellspring of sadness that they are feeling, they will acknowledge it and just kind of like, oh, whatever, go forth and consume more souls. Like, that's when they sort of demonstrate the typical Amnitsu stereotypes of like aloofness or laziness or sort of disinterest. Self-soothe with soul eating. Say that 10 times fast, kids.
It's like, don't eat he eats his feelings.
Just a little. Well, he eats all the time, or they eat all the time, so it's like
All feelings.
all feelings.
All right, so anger. You have this self-satisfied, lazy, or like sedate, not lazy, creature.
They're a very hard
that
worker. It should be said.
then you insult them.
At which point they would probably be.
How quick are they to turn in mood?
I would say that, given their work, it's something where they think about it in the long term. So they will take these things in stride, but if they are ever given an opportunity to actually exercise the anger they feel, it's like, oh, good, I can finally. Good, this is better than therapy. It's not better than therapy at all. Please go to therapy.
Only if it's inanimate objects, that could help.
Uh,
You need to throw a ball at a wall. Do it. Go ahead.
Very true, very true.
Not in place of therapy, but
not in place. In conjunction with therapy, please feel free to throw as many vases as you so desire. Just make sure they're your own vases, or that it's like a smash room. A smash room is like a thing now, right? Like there are.
Yeah, you can go. I don't know where one is. I'd love to go to one.
Or is it crash
where
room?
you-
It's something like that.
Yeah, it's a crash room or a smash room. The idea being that they collect a bunch of stuff. I also feel bad as someone who creates things and knows and likes watching how it's made videos. I do also feel bad looking at the idea of getting a sledgehammer and just beating crap up.
Yeah.
I mean, what they really should be doing is they should be contracting with companies that are dismantling like houses and stuff, and just be like, you pay us. Rage room, thank you, Hefe. It's a rage room. The idea of just like, oh yeah, you pay us and you can dismantle this building for us. Oh, it's the ultimate in like upper class privilege would be like, oh, we're gonna go to this rage room. It's great. You get a hard hat and you have to sign a release. But you get to knock down walls with a sledgehammer, and it's really great. And you do that. Wow, it's like a whole 8 hours they let you do it, and
I think we've just made something cyberpunk. Like, this sounds so...
like it's middle class, or it's blue collar tourism.
Oh no!
It's blue collar tourism. That's what that is.
Angela, we've accidentally drifted into cyberpunk, like the bad aspects of cyberpunk. Oh no! So, this NPC, when they get angry, they're sort of like, yeah, they'll take some blue collar tourism.
No.
I'm just now imagining that in 10 years,
that's gonna be a thing.
That's gonna be a thing. I have this sinking feeling. God. Oh, man. Oh. Anyway, let's talk about happier subjects. How gross.
Let's talk about happier
this
subjects,
Alex.
like what he does when he's angry. It's a happier subject.
Yeah.
So I said slow to anger, but potent in the wellspring of resentment they can collect. When they do unleash it, they savor the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. When they are somebody who is like, when they do unleash their rage, they savor the moment. Yeah, like they are. It is kind of that little finger thing. It's like, yes, my plan worked. Now they die.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm perfectly fine.
Oh, here's a good one. Does Salix have a title or an honorific?
Ooh, that's an interesting name.
Do you?
I imagine they're the chief of something. I don't.
Okay.
Like,
I've been in thesaurus.com the entire time we've been here.
that's
Just
great.
for the record, because you don't come up with slovenly off the top of your head necessarily.
Oh, okay.
I do sometimes, but I was looking for words. Like I spent a long time looking for the word
Yeah.
lecherous. I had completely forgotten the word.
I've been
it starts
writing-
with an L and it means gross.
I've been deep in the deep in the mines of character work. So whenever it comes to adjectives, I immediately think, okay, just find me synonyms, whatever sounds better than sad, mad, angry, or what have you.
Suzerain. I've never heard that word before.
I beg. What did you call me?
Suzerain is an overlord.
Suzerain?
Yeah.
Suzerain Salix.
I know it's terrible. I don't want that. But
Superior Suzerain Salix.
well, overseer might be fine.
Overseer? Yeah, that's a potentiality. I guess it would depend on what we imagine them to be sort of doing. Like, what would warrant their establishment as a high roller, like aboard the Final Rites? Like,
I mean, what's a good middle management job for a devil? I mean, part of that maybe corruptor. That could be because that kind of plays into the idea of consuming souls and being sort of in charge. Maybe it's kind of maybe he's part of the devilish ranks that are basically in charge of keeping people well fed. Like army runs on its stomach. Why wouldn't souls or soul coins be part of that?
Right. Yeah. Why wouldn't there be sort of that element of
it's like a mix of quartermaster and like accountant, like treasurer kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's what is of value to the troops besides fear and their lives.
Something corruption assessor or
grand corruptor.
Yeah, like I like when there's and this is something that a wonderful game by the name of Blasphemous has done very well, where the honorifics, the same thing with Dark Souls, same thing with Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
There are just these titles that evoke something like inherent to the character, like Germain the First Hunter, like, or something like that. The Cleric Beast, like, even if it is like that one point, it's like it hits upon a part of the character that you couldn't really communicate in an elegant fashion otherwise. So the honorific corruptor seems like it needs to be a part of it, because that's sort of their whole spiel.
What about Salix, corruptor of flesh? Because it's both gross, but like also flesh meaning mortality.
Yeah. What's the Latin word for what's the Latin word for flesh?
Hold on, let me pull out my Google Doc, which is a massive spreadsheet of Google Translate, and I can put one thing in and it shows me all the translations in a row. It's really badass.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's Google Translate on steroids. That is what my document is called. But yeah, it's actually here. I'll show you.
Yeah, sure.
I can show you here in the chat. So this is a Google document that I have that I looked up words because I love having words that mean something just even for my own edification. Gotcha. And you put it in there and it just automatically translates into any language that Google translates to.
Wow.
That's within reason. Like some of these I won't keep because I can't pronounce that.
Telugu.
But so yeah, if you look, let's see, there's codes here, and Google Translate actually has a spreadsheet code that
I didn't even know
you find the text. Where is it? I think there's a code for everything. But I don't see where the number is. My husband put this together, so I don't remember where the numbers are coming from or where the codes are coming from.
You now have an error where there was not one before.
It's okay. It'll be fine.
There.
Okay, so what are we looking for? We're looking for
flesh.
Gross. Or skin.
Yeah. Or skin.
Do mortality as well.
Leshar. Fleisch. Yes.
Okay, so let me highlight these and we'll take a look.
Establish Latin. There it is. Advescend. Not. Oh no. When it's more than 3 words.
I never told. Murator is pretty cool.
Murator. Yeah.
Murator Salix might be cool.
Thank you, Romania, for your fantastic contribution.
I never told you, Jason. This is slightly off topic. I have a concept for a creepy carnival group of NPCs that I called Il Carne, which is Italian for the meat. and I was like, hell yeah. But they're it's fine. They're from a carnival. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, no, it's good.
There you go. We call him Hot Corruptor.
Hot Corruptor. That works.
It just sounds like Hot Couture, which is what I was going for.
Yeah, I mean that works.
Although I must say, Carnon,
yeah.
Stirflick. Stirflick is a great word.
Thank you, Afrikaans, for your contribution to language as we know it. Azerbaijani.
Hell is a good one.
Hell, yeah.
Sounds like pale, but like corruptor of the Pell could be. Smartin.
We could make it smart. Corrupt.
Sterfelage. Oh, Dutch.
I think that. Well, actually, I wonder if there's an infernal translator that actually has.
Maybe, but I don't think there's a language. So it might give you font, but it might not give you. Pellis. Well, let's also look up the word weak.
Weak?
Because if we're gonna play with the idea that he like low hanging fruit, then maybe like it's almost a derogatory for him.
And it could be where there's
like he wears it with pride, but it was meant originally as a derogatory,
a diminutive sort of thing, right? Faible. Infermi. Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh, yeah. I like that one.
Corruptor Infirmus or something like that. Swack. I don't think that's
one problem with this though is that it's leaning into slight ableism, so I want to be careful.
Very true.
Some of the translations here, I'm like, ooh, some of these are disability or infirm. So okay, let me check.
Yeah, it was a good thought.
If anybody in chat has a thought of what would be a cool implication, let's try human as well, just to see.
Yeah. Human corruptor. Or soul. How did we not think of soul?
Oh, damn it.
Corruptus hominum or something like that. Anima mai. Anima.
Corruptor anima. One word would be weird.
Corruptor anima. Animo. Seal. Seal. It's corruptor of seals. Word. I thought it was funny.
It was good.
Corruptor animus? Animals? I don't know.
Ooh, blood's a good one too.
Blood. Just straight up blood. Blood corruptor. That's a good one.
Blood corruptor Salix is actually that gives me that vibe, Jason.
Yeah, blood corruptor is Salix. Like this is
pretty good.
They're definitely a Diablo boss.
Like, Soul Keeper is a good one, Hefe.
Soul Keeper, yeah.
Blut.
Sanguis, yes.
Yeah, it's getting a little vampire.
Why is it that Latin is always associated with demons? I can't imagine.
Catholics. As a recovering Catholic, I don't take offense to this. It's just true.
It's just true. Like that's the problem. That I can't remember what it was, but I think somebody hypothesized that Latin had died out because too many demons were being summoned in normal conversation.
I just found a thing. I just posted a thing to the Final Rites page too. I wanted to look it up. It was a dialogue.
Blood.
Demon stands amid your destroyed kitchen. How were you able to summon me? You standing in the corner, flipping through your grandma's handwritten cookbook as fast as you can. I don't know. You were supposed to be chicken and noodles.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Blood corruptor.
I think that is pompous and self-important and not at all describing of what his actual like standing is in society.
Yeah. Like blood corruptor. Like
you could just see him like, do you know who you're speaking to? I am blood corruptor Salix. Hold on. Oh no, I'm gonna make he deserves to have some bullshit like nomenclature associated with him. Hold on.
Yeah, there's gotta be, they have to have some fucking like, there's gotta be some
Soul Keeper of the Fifth Infernal Legion.
I mean, that's not that bad. They're probably somebody important. Blood corruptor, harvester of something, harvester,
Reaper of the Soul Harvests.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Harvester of the Fields for the Fifth Legion or something like that. Apparently the Fifth Legion needs a lot of stuff going on.
Reaper of the Harvest Anima, Soul Keeper of the Fifth Infernal Legion.
Yeah, that sounds about pompous enough. Reaper of the Harvest Anima, Soul Keeper of the Fifth Infernal Legion. Salix for short. They don't say it every time, but whenever they say it, it's like, oh no, I've done hecked up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, boss.
Let's see what it looks like. Okay, good. It doesn't show that whole thing in there. All right, so oh, there it is. There it is.
There it is.
What I wanted.
There it is. That's
Blood Corruptor, Reaper of the Harvest Anima, Soul Keeper of the Fifth Infernal Legion. This guy's amazing. I want him around forever. Don't kill him.
Don't kill him.
Terrible. So this looks terrible. It only looks terrible because it looks terrible. I need to fix the CSS in
no worries.
Here.
No worries.
So if anybody's curious, in World Anvil at certain tiers you get CSS control, so I can play around with this text. Someday I'll show you how that works, but that's not really why you're all here.
Yeah. I had originally thought of maybe as an NB character, but more and more this guy just seems like a real big asshole. Like, no, this is a douche dude. Like, it's one of those things where him. Like, it's just, I've met this person. I've met this person and I really didn't like them. Oh man. His massive gut, all that good stuff. Because he's just, no. Don't like, me no likey. Man. Thank you for this. Thank you for giving
Calico,
me this gift.
This is for D&D. Let me put the info.
Yes, absolutely. If you're just joining us, which, hi, you've caught us on a bit of an off day here at Final Rites. It's a D&D 5e campaign, is Southern Gothic tinged with horror and, mysticism and all that other good
smooches,
stuff.
But
and smooches occasionally, but that's her fault.
That's basically my character.
That's just her character at the moment. But, at this point, it's as I said, a D&D 5e campaign takes place aboard the Final Rites, which is a ship which acts as neutral ground between demons and devils, and all sorts of other people that travels along the river Styx across the multiverse. It's just a very, very interesting and wonderful campaign that I've been able to run with such a great crew, including Angela, including Heavenly, who's a Nerdsmith creator of wonderful talent, and Rachel Denton as well, who is also a Nerdsmith creator and an artist of the highest caliber. You can actually see examples of her work on our Twitter page, Final Rites RPG, all one word. yeah, it's just a fun time, all around, you know. And occasionally, when schedules misalign or health issues pop up, we shall have a few little musings, chat
We
sessions.
avail ourselves of the beauty that is World Anvil and come up with a terrible
Exactly.
character.
Yes, a terrible, terrible, terrible character. Such as Blood Corruptor, the Reaper of the Harvest Anima, Soulkeeper of the Fifth Legion, Salix. It's
Great. It's
it's
so good. How is this is amazing.
yeah.
I love him
And
so much. I
and
love and hate him.
well, what makes it even easier for me is that with this specifically, I can excuse me, introduce him quite easily into the fray. So, congrats. You've just signed your own.
So excited. I'm so happy.
Sign
Sorry,
your own
y'all.
contract.
I definitely got a little too into the CSS here. I'm gonna fix this so this is more legible. It's just coloration choices didn't match. But I do want you to all see the fact that the thing you're looking at right now is all of that NPC information for the DM. So the idea here would be that Jason, as he's running the game, if he goes, "Oh, I want to bring up Salix. I want to remember what I had already decided about my portrayal of Salix." It's all at the top, but only Jason and I can see it because we're both labeled as DMs so that we can edit this easily.
Yes.
I won't look if you add things of your own. But you can find things on here. One of the cool things with World Anvil is if you go to the dashboard, and right now we're in Final Rites. Where are we? Explorer. So if Jason is looking for something,
hey,
he can go in here and find Salix and
somewhere.
find all that. If this was zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
Here. So if this was on regular full size view, because right now we're in half size, so you can see on the screen, Jason could find Salix, and in this list, he can click through and find all the characters. He doesn't have to go through the front end display that would be public view. He's got his own back end view of all of our information here, and he has VIP access to the info, but he can grab all this stuff here, and if needed, he can also quick edit.
Yeah.
In here, he's like, "Oh, okay, something needs to change." He can quick edit the basic information here. So yeah, you get a lot of really cool flexibility in World Anvil, and I love using it.
Yeah.
So that's how we're working on this right now.
Yeah.
It is a draft right now, but I don't mind making this more public.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to give him?
Give him. I can't think of anything at the moment. I think I think where he currently stands is something that would be wonderful to incorporate. As you have introduced this character, I think his development will have to come after the current arc is concluded.
Sure.
Because
He'll still be there, I'm sure.
Oh,
he's one of those gross ones that's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just on a break," and he's been there for like a decade.
It's like, wait a minute, what?
To have a job?
Don't you do anything? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You never see him doing work. You always see him on break, and it's like, wait a minute, what? How are you making money off of this? Why do you have a gut full of souls? I don't have a gut full of souls, and I work my ass off. Ooh, we have 4 followers. Yes. As an aside, you can also follow us on World Anvil if you sign up and all that good stuff. So
yeah, I just put our author, the Nerdsmith author, over here. So anything that Nerdsmith authors, you can find. So you can find all of our shows, including Final Rites.
Oh, I do notice we do have to change a little bit of something. The on the Final Rites World Anvil, we do not stream every other Tuesday anymore.
Do not. You're right. Hold on.
Every Tuesday.
You're very correct.
Yeah.
Let me go to I believe it's in configuration. Yay, thank you for following us on Twitter.
Yay.
Okay, Final Rites follows River Sticker. Can't we use? Okay, we stream every Tuesday at 11
Yep.
a.m. PT.
11 a.m. PT.
Yeah, we have it became especially obvious this week. We as a group have started to avoid PST for Pacific Standard Time because sometimes you're in PDT, not technically PST, which can mess things up if you're looking up those things. Google usually gets it right, but we've decided to just say Eastern or Pacific so whatever the current state of the terrible enslavement to the sun that we have decided to enact.
For whatever reason. This was for agricultural never mind.
It does not save me an hour because I have to walk my dog in the pitch dark now. So it does not save me an hour of daylight. So
yeah.
Love you, farmers. Go, please support Heifer International this week. But Heifer International does not necessarily support daylight savings time.
That's very true. Out there. That is not explicitly stated by Heifer.
I'm gonna go all psychic right now, and I am going to predict that within our lifetime we're gonna just say fuck it and get rid of it. I really do think that will happen. We just need people to stop hanging on to the tradition so hard and just figure out how to make it work better.
Yeah, I'm sure that it'll be some, but as it stands.
Agriculture just has to die. It'll be great. No,
we have to cease.
Cease. See, we have to cease the means of production rather than seize it, and then we don't need daylight savings time.
And then I think we.
Maybe.
I think the world dies at that point.
We'll be okay. We'll be all right. We'll just get on the boat. It'll be fine. We'll just hang out on the river Styx. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, really quick, since we're getting near the end here, we've been talking a bit about our sponsors, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out. So we, as Final Rites, as it's on screen right now, are members of the Nerdsmith Network. Hey. We're a community of creators that make really fun, nerdy content. You can find more at nerdsmith.org, and consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a Patreon now, so you can find us at patreon.com/nerdsmith. We're going to be doing a lot of really cool stuff there. I'm super excited. One of which is going to be me doing a video about how I made a green screen this week, and has been working very well for me. And I don't think I spent, I could probably get it down price-wise. But we're going to be putting a lot of cool bonus content out, fun flights of fancy from all of our shows, bonus episodes, silly little things that we're doing, side adventures that we're going to do. Jason kind of knows what I'm going to talk about. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. So we do a lot of really fun stuff on the Patreon, so please consider supporting us. But most importantly, this week and until the 15th of November, we would really appreciate it if you considered consider donating to Heifer International and helping us fight world hunger by contributing animals to families and communities, but also the training to turn those animals and their products into a sustainable business for those families and communities, passing on that gift to many people in their region, so that it's not just a one-time gift. It's a lifetime worth of support for those people. So please consider and take a look at our link at fundraise.heifer.org/nerdsgiving, and we thank you dearly for the consideration. We're also sponsored by Die Hard Dice. Die Hard Dice makes kick-ass click-clack math rocks, as we like to say. They're in polymer, plastic, and metal varieties. They are constantly coming out with really amazing designs, all sorts of colors, multicolored metal dice, dire metal dice that are even bigger than the regular size. They did also just come out with some really cool stuff, including a double scroll of rolling. They came out with this it's a piece of material that has a zipper pocket that you can store a 7-piece set of dice, but the new one has 2. So yeah, you can roll it up, but when you unroll it, you can roll your
Use it
dice
as a
on that
backspace.
mat.
Yeah.
But the other side is big enough that you could like store bigger things. It's not just for dice. You could store your figures, or you could store other things in there. It looks really, really beautiful, and I believe the pattern on the outside of the double scroll is by Devin Rue, who is a very well-known map maker in the community, also a devout member of World Anvil. You can find some of her world building on World Anvil. Yeah, so Die Hard has some really cool stuff that you should go check out at dieharddice.com.
Absolutely, absolutely. They do some marvelous work over there. And I should say, if the past few hours have not perhaps turned you on to the fact, we are actually sponsored by World Anvil. Yes,
Mhm.
any award-winning service established out of love and respect for each other. Demetrius and Janet are the team behind it. We thank them so much for sharing this program. It's marvelous, free to try. You're gonna want to support it. Please, for less than about the cost of like a small stack of Office Depot CDRs, because CDRs are getting real cheap these days. For
Mhm.
less than the cost of that, you can actually support them. It's about, excuse me, if you want to put it in rational economic terms, I suppose, it's about a cup of coffee a month. And with it, you get full access to most of the features listed here. There are higher tiers if you want to get access to even more features and sort of have even more versatility at your disposal. It's already such a marvelous program. I think that if you're a creative, be you a DM, be you a novelist, be you, just somebody who's
It's
interested in
National
crafting
Novel
worlds.
Writing Month right now, so
Yeah,
it's a
so
really cool tool to plan out all your stuff. I'm
yeah,
using it on the back end for the novel I'm totally not writing for Nano because I'm not an insane person right now
be it
with how
yeah,
much stuff I'm doing.
be it excuse me, regardless of genre, regardless of the creative work that you do, if you're looking for a place to host all of your information, be it locations, characters, personality traits, or
Curses. There's a whole
curses,
section for curses.
whole section for curses. Like, come on, how can you say no?
I cannot confirm that, but there's definitely magical effects.
Definitely magical
And
effects, at least.
most importantly, the reason that we're associated with World Anvil is because just the caliber of people that are involved. World Anvil's community just exceeded 500,000 users, which is insanely cool. And if you go check out their Discord, they are pretty amazing. They have just a really incredible community, and they're incredibly communicative with any updates that they put out on their website. I right now have a small list of what they just released this week that I'm going to go play around with a bit for our World Anvil, but I'm so excited. So yes, please check them out at worldanvil.com and light up the forge.
Yeah, very nice. In terms of our own
Almost done,
programming,
Logan.
almost done. In terms of our own programming, I do want to give mention to the show that's going to be going on later today, which I believe might involve a few interesting guests or people.
I'm sorry.
Am I erroneously misremembering
Tonight?
Yeah, am I
Yes,
erroneously misremembering?
tonight on No, you're not erroneously misremembering. Tonight on Shenanigans at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, we have a guest. We have a guest player, Ren, who is also known as Atomic Firebird on Twitter. Fingers crossed that they overcome they're not feeling so hot right now, and we're really hoping that they get over it so that they can come play with us because we want to play with them so badly. We are in the middle of a murder mystery in Shenanigans. It is silly. You can support us if you donate to our stream. Crazy stuff can happen. Crazy stuff has already happened in the game.
And will continue to happen
forever in perpetuity. Please take a look. Yes, silly murder, silly substance issues. Yeah, lots of things that are very funny and hilarious. But despite all, we have a very weird like swerve in tone sometimes. But highly recommended. It's a heck of a good time, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on the show. I love every single Tuesday that we play that game. But in addition to that, at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, because you gotta love those parallel times, we're going to be hosting D&D with the Banana Brothers on Curious Crafts, which is one of our network members. I'm not just saying that because my husband's on that show. It is very fun. Biggest pitch I can give is that every single one of the characters are half brothers. They're going to meet their father on some sort of quest, and none of them have an intelligence over 7. So it's a time. It's so good. They are delightful and wonderful people. So definitely check that out as well.
I can vouch for the caliber of every single person that Angela has mentioned, be it Ren or even your husband. If I may be so bold as to suggest your husband is a good person.
Compliment my husband. That's fine. Okay.
But yeah, it's a fun time that we've got going on, especially during Nerdsgiving. And final mention to Heifer International.
Yes,
follow
they do
the
amazing
links.
work.
Yes, follow
cute animals.
Yeah, follow the links through chat. See how you can help the world be a little bit of a better place, a little bit of a brighter place in these dark times of winter as they encroach. But I guess for now, as it stands, we thank you everybody so much for watching. We thank you everybody so much for sticking out with us, for chatting and asking questions. We do appreciate it. Final Rites is live Tuesdays at 12 p.m. CST, or excuse me, 1 p.m. CST.
11 a.m. PST.
11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Time zones are garbage. We thank you everybody so much.
We've had that conversation today. We all agree. Everyone's in agreement.
Yes. But we thank you everybody so much. If you're watching on YouTube, catch us live at those times that I just mentioned.
Heck yeah. Just find out all the information at nerdsmith.org. That is definitely where you can go to find everything.
And be safe and keep warm.
Yes.
Adios,
everyone, please do me a favor and be good to each other. Goodbye. Hello, Internet. I'm Angela. I'm a director and creator. We here at Nerdsmith would like to wish you a very happy Nerdsgiving. The time has come for our second annual Nerdsgiving charity event. 2 weeks of playing silly games with our friends while putting a little bit of good back into the world. This year, we are supporting Heifer International and their fight to end hunger while caring for the earth. They gift families and communities income-producing animals and provide the training to turn those animals into sustainable businesses. For the next 2 weeks, that's November 1st through the 15th, we here at Nerdsmith will be running animal-themed RPG one-shots and giving away delightful prizes during the streams. Stay tuned on Twitter for the latest show schedule or donate today at fundraise.heifer.org/nerdsgiving. It's bound to be amusing. No, don't cluck up this opportunity. No, just play the outro.
We are Nerdsmith. Bum ba-dum.
No. We're gonna try that again. One more time. From the top. We are Nerdsmith.